Hi, my name is Palombo Fartura, and I'm the mom of a young adult with a developmental disability and an intellectual disability. I sit on the Supported Decision-Making Coalition, and I work at RIPEN, formerly known as the Rhode Island Parent Information Network, which is Rhode Island's federally designated parent training and information center. When my son Nick, who's now 24, was born, my dad was just retiring from the Rhode Island Family Court bench. He wanted to be there to celebrate his grandchild and be there every day. We celebrated all the successes just like every family. When my son stopped talking and we started to worry about his development, my dad was there saying, "Don't worry, it'll be okay." My dad was the smartest and yet the most humble person I ever met, which is a pretty amazing combination. And my dad kept those expectations high for my son, and he became a model for all of us. He taught me that if we kept our expectations high, Nick could do anything. So I believed him, and that's how we lived our lives. So when Nick turned 8 and we went to the doctor for another evaluation, and that doctor told us that Nick should be institutionalized at some point in his life, that he really didn't have much of a future. It put us right back where we were when he was first diagnosed at 15 months. But my dad, again, the smartest person I ever met and the most accomplished, said, "Don't listen to that. Go right back to where you were with those high expectations." And so that's what we did. I'm glad we didn't look through that same crystal ball that doctor was looking through, because reality was better than her crystal ball. My dad's high expectations were a better indicator of what Nick has accomplished and what he could do in his life. Supported decision-making naturally aligns with high expectation. It aligns with the dignity of risk. My son deserves the dignity of risk, and my dad taught me that. I have the same concerns as every parent about the safety of my son, about who might take advantage of him, but I learned that those aren't the reasons to take away his decisions or to not allow him to make some decisions. We started early sharing decisions. The more opportunities that he was given to make decisions, whether they were good or bad, the more he was used to the support we gave him in decision making. If my dad was still alive when he turned 18, he definitely would have been one of Nick's supporters. But since he wasn't, Nick chose different people in his life to support him in different ways. When we talked about who he wanted to support him in relationships, and I said, "Do you want dad?" He said, "No, let's leave him out of this. I'd like my best friend, Brandon." When we talk about work, Nick chose me for support, as I had been supporting him in that area. He chose his sister for other areas. I know as a parent, I've always respected the input I've gotten from the professionals in my child's life and in general. So I know how important it is that doctors, lawyers, judges have information to share with families about alternatives to guardianship around decision making, so that they have all the information, so that they can choose options and least restrictive options before we take away that dignity.
I'm Crystal Celani Cerullo, and I'll be speaking from mostly a daughter's perspective about supported decision-making, or SDM. I have worked supporting individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities for about 20 years. I started in this field as a direct support professional, or DSP, supporting individuals to live as independent as possible. DSPs help individuals with disabilities to live life as independent with the supports they need to be successful. I learned about supported decision-making while I was working with an individual who was on the Supported Decision-Making Coalition. I attended meetings with her and learned how supported decision-making really empowers individuals to make their own choices. I recall the first time someone spoke to me and not the person I was supporting, and I turned to them and waited for them to answer. This only reinforced the concept that not everyone is seen as equal, and especially someone that needs someone supporting them is not always seen as someone that can make their own decision or make choices about their life. I've only made big decisions in my own life with support from friends and families and trusted people. Why wouldn't we expect that of everybody else? I stayed on the coalition past working with the individual with a disability because of how meaningful this work is to me. I now sit on the committee representing the Paul V. Sherlock Center on Developmental Disabilities, which is Rhode Island's University Center of Excellence in Developmental Disabilities, or UCED. My dad would not be told what to do. As he progressed with Parkinson's, he needed more help in making health and life decisions. We practiced supported decision-making informally. I would inform him of all his options and help him understand his choices so he could make the best decision for himself. We would weigh the pros and cons and look at alternatives for various issues that arose. With my support, my dad was able to exercise decision-making autonomy for as long as he was able to express his decisions himself. I'm also a mom of a toddler with Down syndrome. I remember when I found out my son has Down syndrome. It was stressful, and the pressure was on by my clinicians to decide if I was going to go through with my pregnancy or end it. I was taken aback by this, but I decided to move forward with my pregnancy. My son is still very young. However, I want the same opportunities for him. I want him to be able to make informed decisions with guidance or support without someone else making them for him. My son is only 3, but is already involved with his Individualized Education Plan, or IEP, meetings. Even though he may not fully understand what is going on, he already has a seat at the table. My hope is that supported decision-making will become more part of this culture, so that as my son grows, it will be naturally incorporated in all aspects of his life. We all deserve to make our own decisions and be given the opportunity to do so as much as possible.